Alright, so today we're going to be talking about the second ranked pro hero Hawks, and we've only really heard of him once so far in the anime when Tokuyami references him, meaning that, for the rest of this video we're going to have to go into manga spoilers. This is going to be like Season 5 and Season 6 stuff, so if you don't want to know what's going to happen, I suggest you check out now. So being the second ranked hero is pretty telling of Hawks' power, but I also think there might be a misconception with it because he's not like overwhelmingly powerful like in a brute force type of way, the way that Endeavor and All Might are. He more so specializes in the other aspects that make up a pro hero. Like Endeavor says that the three aspects are like battle, evacuation, and rescue. And he more so excels in the evacuation and rescue aspect of things and kind of has like battle as his weakest attribute, but not meaning that he's weak at all, because I don't want you to think that. But I just want to point it out that Hawks isn't like a super powerful type of hero. He's not going to be the one that's going to be taking down the really powerful enemies or villains in this series. He's more so better suited for like support role. As we saw when him and Endeavor took on the high-end Nomu, he couldn't really do anything against it 1v1, and we'll go into that. He was better off like supporting Endeavor in that fight, as well as going into the evacuation and rescue aspect of things by saving everyone. So I just wanted to put that out there. So an important aspect that makes Hawks so formidable is that he's just like a straight up prodigy, like similar to Bakugo and Todoroki, but more so because he's like the youngest pro hero ever. And like by the age of 18, he was able to start his own hero agency. And then later that year, he broke into the top 10 Billboard rankings. So that's a pretty good indicator of how ridiculously talented and just overall powerful Hawks is. Like, to put it into like better perspective, there's a lot of third years in UA who are 18 right now. Like the big three, they're 18, and Hawks is already in the top 10 by that age. And to make it even more impressive, he never even went to UA. He's like the highest ranked pro hero who didn't even have to go to that school in the first place. So now let's get into Hawks' quirk. And let me just say that it's a pretty good quirk, but I wouldn't say it's one of the best in the series. Hawks just really makes the most out of it and gets the best use as possible, mainly because of his inherent talents that we were talking about, and also due to his intuitive fighting style. Let me also put it out there that Hawks is easily one of the most intelligent characters in the series, which plays into how he is overall in combat, which gives him one of the highest fight IQs that we've seen of any character, villain, or hero. So this quirk is called Fierce Wings, and it basically gives Hawks like these two gigantic red wings that he has multiple uses for. So first of all, it just straight up gives him flight, which is very significant for this series, as not many characters can fly, especially as freely as Hawks can. And this also makes him so ridiculously fast, which of course we'll go into because that's probably his highest attribute. So aside from just having flight with these gigantic wings, he can also individually control every single feather that he has. And let me put it out there that he doesn't have an infinite amount of these, but he does have a lot, like over a couple hundred, I would say. And with these, he can use them as kind of like missiles or bullets in a way to take care of enemies that way. He can also take the very long feathers that he has like towards the end of his wings and use them as like swords, and they're super sharp. They can pretty much cut through almost anything. I mean, he takes care of like those little Nomu minions that pop out of the high end effortlessly, and I'm sure he can cut up most characters no problem either, as long as they don't have like a durability enhancing quirk. And using these feathers, which I guess he can control with his mind, he can also like pick up people and save them that way, which is going into what I was talking about, how he excels in evacuation and rescue more so than just straight up battle. And these things are pretty strong. I mean, they lift up people pretty easily. They can lift up like those rocks and debris that were coming from that building that Endeavor sliced up. And they're also pretty durable too, because they were able to withstand Endeavor's flames for a little bit before burning up completely. And aside from just detaching them and having them do whatever he wants, he can also return them to his wings and reattach them. And even if they do burn up, like what we were saying, he could just regrow them. It takes him like a day or something, but so it's not like instant regeneration, but it's still pretty significant. So his feathers can also feel the vibrations in the air, and it lets him like sense people's locations around him. And it also allows him to hear things that he normally wouldn't be able to hear, like through walls and stuff like that. So that adds to his other hero abilities that just don't necessarily excel him in the battle dimension. So let's go more into Hawks' offense. So as we established, he can shoot these feathers around kind of like homing missiles, and they're pretty powerful. I mean, they were able to pierce the high-end Nomu, which I guess is telling of, you know, their effectiveness. But aside from that, they couldn't really take care of the job against somebody like him. And that more so goes into what we've just been talking about with Hawks in general. I mean, he even says it himself that there's not much that he can do against brute strength, referring to like the high-end Nomu and other characters on his scale of abilities and strength. But when he's going against like normal people, you know, with like quirks that aren't exactly overpowered, he can take care of them no problem. Like we saw him take care of that Meta Liberation Army dude, and then we saw him take care of like the nameless thugs and whatnot when Tokoyami references him. So against like, you know, standard villains and criminals and stuff like that, he's super effective. But when we're going against like the top of the power scale, he's better suited for like support and stuff like that. And as far as I know, we haven't seen any like physical feats of strength from him so far, so it's unsure like what level of strength he has, like if he's above average going into like superhuman territory the way that Mirio and Bakugo have shown that they have. But I'm just going to assume that, you know, considering that he's the number 2 hero, he's, you know, probably pretty strong, but probably not as strong as like Endeavor, I would say. And as for his durability, that's also a question mark. We haven't really seen him take any damage as far as I know either. The closest to coming really harmed I've seen so far is like when he narrowly avoids getting struck by the high-end Nomu's like meat spike thing that he shot at him, and he was able to avoid it, and it just took off his glasses and kind of like scratched his face. And that goes into his crazy speed, but more so that's like reflexes. So that right there is pretty telling that like he has great reflexes, obviously, because the high-end Nomu was stated to be exceptionally fast. Like Hawks says that he's even faster than him. So I guess that brings us to Hawks' greatest attribute, and that's his speed. So I guess Hawks is like the fastest hero, right? I haven't really seen anyone that's quite on his level yet. I mean, there might be a hero or something like that introduced in the future, but as of right now, I'm pretty sure that he's the fastest. I mean, it's implied numerous times through his feats as well as like the exposition dropped on him that he's probably the fastest hero. Also, like in the Pro Hero arc, we see it pretty clearly. Like when those 2 white Nomus are attacking the civilians, he like swoops in instantly and is able to slash them and use his feathers to save the civilians. Another good indication of this is when we see Tokoyami like talking about Hawks and what he was doing during his internship with him, and how whenever him and the sidekicks would try to travel behind Hawks, he would just, you know, dust them and go off and just easily defeat numerous villains or criminals and whatnot. And they would basically just have to act as like cleanup because he was just so fast that there was no way that they can keep up with him. Not just the interns, but like the criminals and the villains as well. And recently we got to see his most impressive speed feat, because we see him on top of a skyscraper, like watching Izuku, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Endeavor track down the Star Servant's henchmen. And right before they're able to grab them, he swoops in and takes care of them like instantly. And we can assume that he was on top of the skyscraper right before that. So I think that right there shows that he's likely the fastest hero, considering I don't think we've seen anyone outside of like All Might replicate any kind of insane speed like that. So that's pretty much Hawks and how powerful he is. He excels in the speed department and using his high level of intellect to make the best use of his quirk, not just in battle, but also rescue and evacuation as well. So, like I said, not exactly like a powerhouse, but he is an extremely formidable hero. Now, also, as I've stated, we haven't really seen too much of his other aspects, meaning that we haven't seen the full potential of Hawks yet. And I'm sure we will, you know, once this war becomes more apparent in the story. But until then, you know, this is all we really have to go off of. And I'm sure that he has a lot more tricks that we haven't seen yet. But that's pretty much it for the video today, guys. Let me know what you think about Hawks. How powerful do you think he is? And also, if you like the video, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon, gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.